After the victory at Endor, Master Luke Skywalker became the great symbol of hope. The destruction of the second Death Star signified not only the end of the Empire, but also the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, who died as a Jedi by saving his son. This act marked Luke forever, for now he carried the responsibility of rebuilding what had been lost. There were no longer masters to guide him, and the free galaxy expected him to be able to restore the legacy of the Jedi without repeating the failures of the past. In the first years after the fall of the Empire, Luke traveled forgotten worlds in search of knowledge. His sister Leia dedicated herself to politics and Han to military leadership, but Luke knew his role was different. The Force called him constantly, leading him down paths that no map revealed. Each journey took him to ancient ruins, abandoned temples, and places where the energy of the Force still pulsed strongly. There, he began to understand that the victory at Endor had been only the beginning of his true journey. One of the places that marked this search was Ahch-To, home of the first Jedi Temple. Among stone cliffs and ancient manuscripts, Luke understood that the Order, despite its greatness, had also become bound to dogmas that made it vulnerable. He could not repeat the same mistakes if he wanted to form a new generation. In Lothal, he experienced visions inside ancestral temples, facing choices that made him reflect on balance, responsibility, and the danger of attachment. Each experience shaped his vision of what it truly meant to be a Jedi. It was in Ossus that Luke lived his most intense revelation. Among the rubble of libraries burned by war, he meditated for days, surrounded by echoes of ancient heroes who had succumbed to darkness. During this meditation, an inexplicable energy enveloped him, as if the Force itself had chosen him. In an instant, he was torn from his reality and thrown through time. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer in the future of the New Republic, but in Coruscant, at the height of the Clone Wars, before the destiny that would shape the entire galaxy. Luke felt the Force stir him like never before. A mysterious energy enveloped him, pulling him beyond time and space. He opened his eyes and realized he was no longer at Endor, nor on any known battlefield. The horizon before him showed bright towers and the incessant traffic of ships. It was Coruscant, in an era that did not belong to him. The heart of the young Jedi Master beat rapidly as he understood that the Force had taken him to the past, to a decisive moment. As he walked through the busy streets, Luke noticed suspicious looks. He wore black with a lightsaber at his waist, something that aroused suspicion in times of war. In his heart, the Force whispered that he had been called to fulfill a unique mission, to intervene before tragedy consumed the Jedi and his father transformed into Darth Vader. The revelation was immense, but Luke could not retreat. As he approached the Jedi Temple, Luke observed the imposing construction. It was strange to see the place in full activity, knowing that, in his timeline, it would be destroyed and transformed into a symbol of tyranny. Guardians, knights, and young apprentices circulated, without imagining the shadow that was already rising within the Republic. Luke took a deep breath and decided to enter. 2 sentinels blocked his passage. One of them, a Zabrak with firm features, asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here with a saber in the middle of war?" Luke remained calm and replied, "My name is Luke. I am a Jedi, and I came because the Force brought me to this time." The guards looked at each other, suspicious, but felt the sincerity in his voice. Led inside, Luke was received by the Council. At that moment, Anakin was not yet part of the Jedi Council. Yoda, seated in his chair, tilted his head with curiosity. "Strange your presence is. From the future, you come." Luke only lowered his gaze and confirmed, "The Force brought me because something terrible is about to happen. I need to help." Silence took over the room. Mace Windu, rigid as always, frowned. "Future or not, you are asking to interfere in delicate matters. The war is at a critical point, and we cannot blindly trust strangers." Luke knew this test was inevitable. He removed the saber from his waist and placed it on the floor, kneeling. "I am not here to take anyone's place. I only wish to prevent the fall that all of you do not yet see." Obi-Wan Kenobi, curious and concerned, approached. "That name, Luke, does not seem strange." Yoda looked at him and, enigmatically, replied, "Threads of destiny, we are all entangled, but clarity we do not yet have." Luke remained silent, but in his mind arose the doubt. Revealing that he was Anakin's son could change everything irreversibly. The tension increased when Ki-Adi-Mundi asked directly, "If you are from the future, then do you know the destiny of this war? Who will win? What will be Chancellor Palpatine's role?" Luke swallowed hard. This was the crucial point. If he spoke too much, he could alter the flow of time beyond what was necessary. But if he remained silent, perhaps he would not be heard. He responded firmly, "The danger is not outside, but within the Senate. The Chancellor hides who he really is. He has been manipulating this war from the beginning. And my father, Anakin Skywalker, is at the center of everything." The council reacted with shock except Yoda, who kept his gaze fixed, as if he already expected to hear something like this. Obi-Wan tried to disguise the impact, but his voice betrayed concern. "What do you mean about Anakin? He is our greatest ally in this war." Luke took a deep breath and said, "If nothing is done, he will be corrupted and become what you fear most." The weight of the revelation fell upon the room. Yoda broke the silence. "Clarity still lacking, but sense the danger I can. Watch Anakin, we must." Windu nodded, though disbelieving. "If what you say is true, the council must act with caution." Luke knew the battle was only beginning. The Force had given him a chance, but he would have to face resistance, not only external, but within the heart of his own father. Luke left the council chamber with a heavy heart. Yoda's gaze had revealed concern, but the caution of the masters meant that little was done immediately. He feared that this indecision was precisely the opening for the same destiny to repeat itself: the fall of the Jedi and the rise of darkness. Walking through the temple corridors, he felt the Force pushing him to act, that he could not wait for the slowness of collective decisions. If Anakin was in danger of falling, this would not be prevented only with vigilance. With this conviction, Luke decided to confront the source of all the problem. He went to the Senate, and with a firm voice announced to the assistants that he needed to speak urgently with the Chancellor. "I am a Jedi. I bring information that can affect the entire Republic," he said. The officials looked at each other, confused by that young man with a determined look, but did not dare deny entry. Shortly after, Luke found himself before Palpatine's chamber, his heart beating fast, but firm in his mission. Palpatine received him with that smooth and calculated tone. "A new Jedi? I do not recall your name. What do you want from me?" Luke remained upright, his eyes fixed on the man he knew to be the true Sith Lord. "What I want is truth. The war you manipulate will end when the mask falls. I know who you are, and I will not stand by while you destroy everything." Palpatine raised an eyebrow, surprised by the audacity. "Dangerous words, boy. You speak as if you knew the future." Without waiting any longer, Luke ignited his green saber. The sound cut through the silence, and Palpatine rose from his chair, his eyes gleaming with malice. "So you came here to kill me, like all of you traitorous Jedi." Then, Force lightning shot from his hands toward Luke. The young master raised his blade and absorbed the rays, deflecting them firmly. The shock illuminated the room, and for an instant Palpatine himself stepped back, impressed by the strength of such a young and unknown Jedi. The battle exploded in fury. Palpatine drew his red saber and advanced with fast and deadly strikes. Luke, firm, responded blow for blow, remembering his training with Yoda and the lessons of balance. The sound of the sabers echoed through the hall, each thrust loaded with hidden intentions. Palpatine smiled, even as he was pressed. "Extraordinary, and I did not even know of your existence. The Force flows in you in an intense way." Luke remained silent, concentrated on each movement. Realizing that the confrontation could extend too long, Palpatine called for his guards. The door opened, and 4 hooded soldiers entered firing at Luke. He had to redirect his saber to deflect the shots, creating a whirlwind of luminous energy around him. Palpatine took advantage of the distraction, throwing him against a wall with the Force. Luke fell, and in a quick movement, Palpatine disarmed Luke by tearing the green saber from his hands. Luke fell to his knees, but still maintained his firm gaze. Palpatine walked slowly toward him, observing him like a predator examining its prey. "I will not kill you, yet. I want to understand where so much power comes from. Who are you, young Jedi?" Luke did not respond, only maintained silence and defiance in his gaze. With a cold gesture, Palpatine ordered, "Guards, arrest him." As the soldiers immobilized him, the Chancellor raised his voice, theatrical and loaded with indignation. "They tried to assassinate me inside my own office. The Jedi conspire against the Republic, and this young man is living proof of their betrayal." The cry echoed through the corridors, reaching senators and officials who were already approaching. Luke tried to protest, but was silenced by the pressure of the guards. In his mind, he felt the Force telling him that this imprisonment was not the end, but part of the path. He took a deep breath and let himself be taken, knowing that the truth, sooner or later, would reveal itself. Still, the fear remained. Palpatine had managed to turn the narrative against the Jedi, and now had in his hands the perfect chance to accelerate the fall of the Order. Palpatine, satisfied, ended the audience. "You will be judged for treason, and all the Jedi will answer for this crime. The Republic will not tolerate conspiracies." As Luke was dragged away, he felt that time was running out. The Force had brought him there not to win in a single blow, but to face a much greater test. The destiny of his father and the entire galaxy depended on how he would resist the imprisonment that was beginning. In the dark cell, Luke waited in silence, sitting on the metallic floor. Guards remained motionless outside, attentive to any movement. The Force, however, told him he would not be alone for much longer. Minutes later, a hooded figure appeared discreetly, gliding through the shadows. It was Mace Windu, who had managed to infiltrate among the Senate corridors with the help of officials still loyal to the Jedi. The serious gaze of the Master met Luke's. "I need to hear from you what really happened," said Windu in a low voice. Luke raised his eyes and responded without hesitation. "Palpatine is the Sith Lord you are looking for. I went there to eliminate him. He is manipulating everything, and if he is not stopped now, he will destroy the Jedi and transform the Republic into something unrecognizable." The Master remained silent, absorbing each word. Windu narrowed his gaze, like one who weighs each piece of information. "We always suspected something, but we did not have sufficient proof. Now, with what you say, the pieces fit together. Palpatine controls both sides of this war." Luke leaned forward, firm. "If you delay, it will be too late. He needs to be destroyed before he summons the Senate against you." The clarity and firmness in his voice impressed Windu. Back at the temple, Windu convened a restricted meeting of the council. The Masters present heard his report about the meeting with Luke and the direct accusation against Palpatine. The atmosphere became charged, some insisting on caution, others recognizing that hesitation was dangerous. The conclusion, however, was clear. The Chancellor could not speak before the Senate, or all would be lost. While the council debated, Palpatine officially convened an extraordinary session. He spread the narrative that the Jedi were conspiring to assassinate him and that he possessed proof of the betrayal. The news spread quickly, inflaming the opinion of many senators. The time to act had run out. Windu, determined, rose and said, "There will be no meeting. We will confront him first." Yoda and Obi-Wan understood they would need political support to prevent the Jedi from being accused of a coup. Thus, they went to Bail Organa and Padme. Yoda spoke in his characteristic style. "Blind, the senators are. In danger, the Republic already is. Support we need to expose the truth." Padme, serious, replied, "If Palpatine is truly a Sith, he cannot remain in power. Bail and I will move the Senate." Meanwhile, Windu prepared with the Masters chosen for the mission. There was weight in each gaze, for all knew the decision could mean the end of the Order. No accusation speech would be used. The truth would be revealed in the blade of the sabers. Luke, still imprisoned, felt through the Force what was about to happen and closed his eyes, whispering to himself, May they have the wisdom necessary to defeat him. Night came to Coruscant. In the Chancellor's quarters, Palpatine prepared himself for the great speech that would consolidate his power. Guards maintained security, but the true danger was already walking through the corridors. Windu led the group with firm steps, saber in hand, ready to do what destiny required. When the door opened, the masters entered in silence. There were no formal accusations, no long words. Palpatine rose with a cold smile, as if he already expected the visit. "So you finally decided," he said in an ironic tone, his voice loaded with malice. Windu responded only with the purple blade igniting in the dark. The other masters ignited their sabers at the same time, filling the hall with the glow of the blades. The atmosphere became heavy. The Force vibrated as a portent of destruction. Palpatine dropped his mask of statesman and released the dark aura he had hidden for so long. The true Sith Lord was finally exposed before them. The silence that followed was brief. In a second, Palpatine launched himself forward, red saber in hand, advancing against the Jedi. The initial shock illuminated the room, the metallic sound of the sabers filling the air. There was no more room for words, only fight. The destiny of the Republic was being decided there. Each blow, each movement, determined whether the Senate would wake up the next day still free or under the chains of the Empire. The Force, in its intensity, watched the duel that would mark the turn of time. In the cell where he remained imprisoned, Luke felt the Force pulse like an inevitable call. His mind opened to the guards who watched over him, and calmly he projected thoughts of obedience. Then he said, "You will free me and give me my saber." Then the guards repeated, "We will free you and give you your saber." The soldiers, dominated by the influence, unlocked the door and placed his green saber in his hands. Luke left toward the Chancellor's hall, knowing he could not let everything repeat itself like in the echoes he already knew. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker awakened with a start. He felt an intense disturbance in the Force, and with it the presentiment that Palpatine was in danger. For Anakin, the Chancellor's destiny was confused with Padme's. His distorted mind believed that only Palpatine's power could save her from death. This thought dominated him and led him down the path Luke most feared. In the Senate office, the battle had already begun. Palpatine had revealed his true face, striking with fury the masters who confronted him. His movements were fast, cruel, guided by accumulated hatred. One by one, the Jedi fell under his red blade, until only Mace Windu remained before him. The fight intensified, and the glow of the sabers slashed the hall with violence. The window behind him shattered, illuminating the scene with the lights of Coruscant. With a precise blow, Windu disarmed Palpatine, making the red saber fly through the air. The Sith staggered. The energy of the Force vibrated in the environment, each second weighing like an eternity. Windu kept his saber over the enemy's neck, the purple blade trembling with the pressure of the decision. It was at this instant that Anakin entered, breathless, taken by desperation. "Do not kill him, Master," he shouted. His eyes were fixed on Palpatine, but the shadow of doubt dominated him. Windu responded firmly, "He is the Sith Lord. If he lives, the Republic will die." Anakin trembled, divided between duty and the fear of losing Padme. Palpatine, lying against the wall, launched energy rays against Windu. The Master blocked with effort, his muscles tense trying to resist the discharge. "He controls the Senate. He controls everything," Windu shouted. "The destiny of the Republic is in our hands." But the cry was muffled by Anakin's plea, "I need him." In a sudden movement, Anakin brandished the blue saber and cut Windu's hand. The purple saber fell, disappearing into the void of the night. The shock froze time for an instant. Windu, incredulous, looked at Anakin without understanding the betrayal. Before he could react, Palpatine raised his hands and launched a devastating wave of lightning. Windu's body was thrown through the window, disappearing into the illuminated city. Anakin fell to his knees, defeated by his own choice. Palpatine looked at him with cruel satisfaction. "You have no way back." To save who you love, you must embrace the power I offer. From now on, you will be called Darth." The phrase echoed like an inevitable sentence, the darkness enveloping the young Skywalker. But before the name was pronounced, a firm voice broke the silence. The door opened, and Luke entered, green saber in hand. His eyes were fixed on Anakin, not on Palpatine. "Stand up, Father," he said with conviction. The tone carried not only authority, but also compassion, like a son calling his father back to the light. Palpatine turned, surprised to see that young man return so quickly. "You again?" he murmured with contempt. But Anakin's attention was no longer on the Sith. He stared at Luke, confused, the word father hammering in his mind. Anakin's heart wavered, divided between the darkness that attracted him and the truth that emerged before him. Luke did not retreat. "You still have a choice. You do not need to become his slave." The voice echoed like destiny itself manifesting, cutting through the silence after Windu's fall. Palpatine gritted his teeth, understanding that this intruder represented more than just strength. He was the key that could undo his victory. In that instant, time seemed suspended. Anakin, kneeling, looked at Palpatine and at Luke, feeling the currents of the Force pulling him in opposite directions. The war, the future, and even the destiny of his children were condensed in that choice. Heavy breathing filled the hall. The dark side awaited the oath, but the light had found a new voice to fight against it. Luke kept his saber in hand, his gaze firm on Anakin. Then he decided to reveal the truth he had kept until that moment. "My name is Master Luke Skywalker, your son. The Force brought me from the future to prevent everything from being lost. If nothing changes, Palpatine will become Emperor, and you will be enslaved by the dark side, deformed into a monster called Darth Vader." The words echoed through the hall, and both Anakin and Palpatine were silent, shocked by the unexpected revelation. Palpatine was the first to react. A cold smile appeared on his face. "A cheap trick. He lies to poison you, Anakin. He knows you only desire one thing, to save Padme. I am the only one who can give you that power." The Sith's honeyed voice enveloped Skywalker's heart, stoking the fear that already dominated his mind. Luke did not retreat and advanced against the Chancellor, the green blade illuminating his determined face. Anakin advanced desperately and blocked the attack with his blue saber. "No!" he shouted, protecting the Sith. The two sabers clashed, father against son, and the Force pulsed intensely in the confrontation. Luke looked at him with compassion, but his voice was firm. "Do not fight against me, Father. He is the enemy." The battle intensified. Anakin struck with fury, but Luke responded with equal speed, each movement revealing years of discipline and mastery. Anakin felt divided, impressed by Luke's power, but unable to accept that absurd story. "Who are you really? How can you fight like this?" he asked between blows. Luke only replied, "I am your son, and I came to give you the chance to choose again." Palpatine observed, worried. For the first time, he saw Anakin being challenged as an equal. Fearing that young Skywalker would waver, he threw himself into combat indirectly, raising his hand and throwing large objects at Luke. The young man dodged as he could, but was hit in the shoulder and fell to his knees. Anakin reacted instinctively, disarming Luke with a quick movement, throwing the green saber to the floor. The Sith showed more venom. "Very well, Anakin. Kill him now." Luke, still on the floor, raised his voice. "Father, do not do this. Listen to the Force within you." Anakin trembled, the blue saber raised, but his mind flooded with doubts. "This is not possible. This story cannot be true." Palpatine advanced a step, shouting with hatred. "Do it!" Luke raised his voice, desperate. "Father, no!" The entire hall seemed to vibrate between two choices. Anakin's breathing was heavy, sweat running down his forehead. The future was suspended in his decision, and each second seemed to last an eternity. Suddenly, Palpatine raised his hands and fired lightning at disarmed Luke. The young man screamed as he was hit, his body contorting with the discharge. "Father, please help me!" he cried out in pain. The lightning consumed the environment, and Palpatine's cruel voice echoed, "Only with me will you have unlimited power." Luke, even under the attacks, managed to pronounce what remained. "My mother, Padme. She dies. You can prevent this, but not with him. Palpatine will never save her." These words broke through Anakin's mind like a blade. Suddenly, he saw images of Padme's death, felt the weight of the lie the Chancellor fed. The certainty struck him. Palpatine did not want to save, only to enslave. With a roar of fury, Anakin raised the blue saber and, in a decisive blow, cut Palpatine's head. The lifeless body fell through the broken window, disappearing into the illuminated abyss of the city. Silence took over the hall, leaving only the sound of Anakin's heavy breathing and the distant crackling of the energy that dissipated. For the first time, the Sith had been defeated before fulfilling his destiny. Anakin extended his hand to Luke, helping him up. His face, however, was marked by uncertainty. "What if all this is true? What if Padme really dies?" he murmured, his eyes full of anguish. Luke embraced him strongly, transmitting calm. "You did the right thing. You brought balance to the Force again. But this time you will live to see your new future." The Force then enveloped Luke like a gentle wave. He knew his mission was coming to an end. The glow around him grew until it disappeared, leaving only Anakin alone in the destroyed room. Days later, Padme survived childbirth, giving birth to healthy twins. Anakin saw them in her arms and cried, but the weight of Windu's death haunted him for years. Even so, the memory of the son who had come from the future gave him strength to believe there was still light within him.